Let's get deep. Going deep. Chad and JT.
Guys, first off, we are brought to you by Douglas Lubricant, the best in the biz. Guys, make sure you bone and bone well with Douglas. There's lots of flavors: original, orange, strawberry, anal, and pick your best from the best in the biz with Douglas. We are also brought to you by our sponsor, MyBookie. What up, MyBookie? Thank you guys for sponsoring us. Super appreciate. Stokers, I hope you guys are making some fire bets, especially because the holidays are upon us, and we want you guys to make some good bets. Have you ever wanted to place a bet but didn't because you're afraid to pick the wrong team? This Thanksgiving, it's finally possible for you to get 100% refund on your bet if you lose it. With the Turkey Day free play, you can bet the spread on either the Bears or the Lions. Hopefully you go Bears for Joe.
Go Bears, baby.
If it wins, you win. If it loses, MyBookie will give your money back up to $250. Whoa, guys, you literally cannot lose. It's no risk, all gravy. That's what you put on your turkey. MyBookie offers such a great product, and there has literally never been a better time to try them out. Unless your sportsbook is offering something like this, I think you should make the switch. I've never heard of a sportsbook doing a freebie like this. Dudes, I never heard of it, and I doubt I'll ever hear of this again. It's crazy. Guys, these guys are trustworthy, fast, and helpful, so I know they're good for it. New to sports betting and have lots of questions? That's okay too, guys, because MyBookie's patient customer service can walk you through any questions you have about how betting works. Sign up this week, and MyBookie will give you a 50% deposit bonus to jumpstart your bankroll. It's a great way to bank even more money when you win. Log on to MyBookie right now and use promo code DEEP to get 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code DEEP. You don't need a promo code for your Turkey Day free play. If you lose, we'll credit the money back into your account automatically. What are you waiting for? Sign up today and don't miss out on the gravy train at MyBookie! Exclamation point. Thank you, MyBookie.
Guys, we are sponsored by Ridge Wallet. The Ridge is a minimalistic front pocket wallet that helps you reevaluate your everyday carry. Launched by a father-son team and funded on Kickstarter in 2013, the Ridge now resides in the pockets of over 250,000 men and women. The RFID blocking wallet is made by two metal plates, either titanium, carbon fiber, or aluminum, bound together by a durable elastic band. Me and Chad have been wearing these around, and guys, they are perfect. They're efficient, and they fit nice into tight jeans. I don't have to worry about having a big, bulky wallet in my front pocket that makes my jeans look awkward. This fits right in there and keeps my aesthetic sleek, cool, and not an eyesore. So thank you very much, Ridge. We're stoked to be sponsored by you.
Yeah, dudes, I'm not just saying this because they're our sponsor. I've been telling everyone about my Ridge wallet because it is a lifesaver. I used to have a big, bulky wallet. Hurt my ass, dude. Now I put this in my front pocket. Minimalistic. I'm all about minimalism.
And then get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping by going to ridgewallet.com/Chad. That's ridgewallet.com/Chad.
It's deep now.
Damn. All right, dudes, get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping by going to ridgewallet.com/deep. That's ridgewallet.com/deep and use code DEEP. Link in description. All right. Thank you, Ridge.
Kroger coming in with the Going Deep and Chad JT podcast. I've got my compadre, Jean Thomas. What up?
What up, dog? Boom, clap, Stokers.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
And it's good to see you again. We've had a week hiatus from each other, and it's too long.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
Good to be back here for the holiday season. And firing off this Monday morning, and today we got a guest, Dr. Shawn Baker. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. Wait a minute now, Chad. Aren't you you're the lead singer for Nickelback?
Oh no,
am I messing that up?
We share the same. I'm honored to share the same name as him, but no, we.
You can't sing. You can't sing a little bit, maybe.
I mean, I could try.
Yeah, please do.
This is how you remind me.
Of what I really am.
Oh, dude, that was much better.
This is how. That's a great song,
Dude.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll pretend anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Do you know any Nickelback songs?
Yeah, some of them, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. I know, anyway.
I love Nickelback.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, some people make fun of them, I think, don't they?
Yeah, but they're inspiring to me.
I mean, everyone who's making fun of Nickelback, it's like you don't have a fraction of the talent that guy has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just it just gets easy to pick on certain people, and then it's like a momentum thing.
Sure.
But
yeah.
I don't think it's deserved in his case.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, are they doing anything lately? Have they been like popular lately?
I don't know.
They were like more like 10 years ago, right? That's kind of.
Yeah, I
maybe
think they
5
came
years
out with a
ago.
new album. I don't know, but
I figure you'd keep up with this sort of stuff.
I
They
should
have the same name.
I should be more on top of the other Chad.
I'm biased, but I would almost guarantee that they'll have 3 to 5 more top 20 hits before it's all said and done.
Okay. We'll have to. What's today? We have to record that and see if his prediction comes true.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, I'll wear the same goatee that Chad Kroger from Nickelback has for the rest of my life.
Nice.
And I'd like to put on record whenever a Nickelback song comes on, I crank it up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I crank it up. So, Dr. Baker, you are sort of the leading advocate, I guess you could say, for the carnivore diet.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that. I'm one of several people that are pushing us pretty hard. For sure. Yeah. Steak is good.
Steak is good.
Steak is good.
The carnivore diet, for those of you who don't know, it's an all meat diet.
It is.
And
for the most part. I mean, some people throw
Yeah.
some eggs in there, a little bit of dairy once in a while, but it's
Yeah.
mostly just eat a bunch of damn steaks, and life is good.
Is
Yeah.
it so? It's more geared towards red meat, or do chicken?
It ends up being that way, and I think there's some reasons why, but most people that do it, over a long period of time, find they just like eating red meat. I mean, it just tastes better. It's more. It just gives you something that it's almost a visceral just
Yeah.
You just get that, and I think that's what most people do. You get some chicken every once in a while. It's like an appetizer. Like I call chicken like the salad of the carnivore diet. I mean, it's just not going to do it long term.
Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec
Yeah.
said fish is basically a vegetable.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
probably. I mean, he's actually a pretty wise man, I think, in many ways.
I'm a big fan.
So. Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters.
What's the actor? What's the name of the dude that does it?
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman.
We got to get him on the carnivore diet for real and see what he does.
I wonder if he's already on it.
He might be.
Who's the
He'd
most-
probably be leaner if he was. I'd say,
Good call.
Who's like the longest, tenured carnivore diet? Like, who's been on the diet the longest?
So there's a guy that there's a guy, he's dead now. He died in a car wreck when he was like 75, but he was on it for 53 years. His name was Owsley Stanley. He was he was like the sound man for the Grateful Dead. He was like an LSD distributor back in the night. He was like one of the main LSD distributors and manufacturers from like the 60s.
Yeah.
And so he started that way back then.
That's
like
crazy.
in Western. So he went for like 53 years and was a big proponent. But right now there's a couple in Florida named Joe and Charlene Anderson. Have been doing it for 20 years. They've been doing it, and I think their kids have been doing it since they've been babies. And they're great health. They look literally like he's 60 and he looks like he's 40. She's 45 and looks like she's 25.
Yeah.
Just they look phenomenal.
Yeah.
I reference those guys sometimes from time to time. But yeah, there's a bunch of people who've been doing it for decades. But I mean, honestly, we can say there's people that, some of these like northern populations, Inuit, have been doing it for thousands of years, their whole life,
Right.
basically, more or less. But I mean, in Western society, these are the people that I'm aware of that have been doing it the longest. I've only been doing it for about 2 years. So, but I've been pretty blown away by the positives by it. And so I've been kind of like you like somebody who's discovered something neat. You want to share the news, and everybody thinks you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the positives you can outline?
So I mean, simplicity, right? I mean, it's like how hard is nutrition? Like I said, if you got a wild animal and you give them an app and a little calculator and a menu and a macronutrient guide to tell him how to eat, he's going to look at you like, what the hell? I gave my dog a Fitbit for Christmas a couple of years. He just ate it and didn't know what to do with it. I guess he couldn't figure it out. But, it's simple, right? It's like all you got to do is eat a bunch of steak and you're fine. I mean, it's the simplest nutrition plan in the world, and people that do that do really well. It tends to be particularly satiating, so people tend not to overeat on this. But interestingly, we know that as you increase protein in your diet, you actually can get away with more calories. So you can eat more protein calories and not gain as much weight. And there's a recent study coming out there that David Ludwig out of Harvard just released like 2 weeks ago, showing that with low carb diets in particular, you get a couple 100-calorie advantage. So you've got kind of both those things going on. So people tend to eat a lot more. They eat till they're totally full. They get leaner. Inflammation goes away. People are having like joint pain, like we talked about before the show. Probably joint pain, mental health issues like depression and anxiety, and then probably digestion are probably the biggest 3 issues that people see as positive. There's a whole bunch of things, but from an athletic performance standpoint, people get stronger. They tend to preserve and put on more muscle mass. You know, they feel better. They recover better. Libido goes up. You know, all those good things.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about the simplicity, because a lot of times you'll hear these like diet people and they'll be like, well, you need salmon roe for this, you need whatever, like all these different things, and you're like, it can't be. How
did humans get all that shit 50,000, 100,000 years ago? Where you weren't going to Whole Food buying avocados and blueberries. I mean, where did that come from? It didn't. It's impossible.
Yeah, it was a simpler diet.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about if you got all these guys' recommendations, you say, well, okay, where would I get that if I lived in Europe 50,000 years ago? There's many of them, all of us, probably us guys in the room right now, probably all descended from that location, just looking at the way we look. But so it's like, where would you have gotten that from? And you're like, it would have been impossible. Yeah, totally impossible. But the way you could get it was a big fatty friggin' mammoth. Eat that stuff, man. Yeah, cook up some, because steaks taste good, right? I mean, they taste good, right?
Yeah, I could eat steak all day.
The same recipe we've been cooking steak is like fire plus fatty steak equals deliciousness. Yeah, that recipe's been around for 1.5 million years or so, and it still tastes good. So there's a reason for that.
That's cool.
When did you convert to the...
Convert? Sounds like a religion. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but no. So what I did was I spent about, because I'm 50, I'll be 52 soon, so I'm an old guy. But so I was, about mid-40s, I started saying, well, my diet is catching up to me. I can't keep exercising because I've been an athlete and exercising hard my whole life. So when I got in my 40s, I was like, okay, I got to change diet because I can't just keep eating whatever I want. And so when I started doing that, I progressed through a low-fat, vegetable-rich, lean meat diet for a while. Lost some weight doing that, but felt crappy. And then went on a paleo-primal diet for a while. Then went on a low-carb diet. Then went on a keto diet over about 5 or 6 years. And then finally, right at 2 years ago, I started switching over to a carnivorous diet, and that's where I've been since that time.
That's cool. Yeah, I was talking about this earlier, but sort of been into diet since like 2012 because my dad had a heart attack, and then that sort of like focused us on it because he was working out all the time. He's in great shape, so the guys think he works out all the time, but then we're like, diet is a major component. So he went vegan for like the first year after, and then it got worse. So now he's on a low carb, high protein, and he feels great, looks great.
Yeah, hopefully his cardiac function's better too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on top of it. He's a doctor, so he's always, he's staying on top of it. But he looks good, and I think one thing that's huge too is he feels satiated. He can go with the other diets. With the high carb, or he'd have like smoothies and stuff. You just have to eat all day.
Yeah, hungry people eat garbage because if you're hungry all the time, you're gonna see a cupcake from across the room out of the corner of your eye with that peripheral vision. You're gonna zip right over there and snap that thing right up, man.
Yeah.
Because if you're hungry, you can't avoid it. But you can sit there like, I haven't eaten yet today. I mean, hopefully I don't get crazy and go cannibalistic and try to go after one of you guys. No, but I mean, I can probably go 24 hours, 36 hours without food, and I'm totally fine if I need to. So it's not a big deal. And that, again, that sort of lines up with what might have happened. It's not convenient to you didn't have a microwave, again, 50,000 years ago. It wasn't convenient to cook food. And so, you think about cooking, you did a survival. I was amazed how you survived in the wilds. Where was that anyway? It was like some wild jungles in Central America. Where were you the other day? Or was that on a hiking trail down locally?
Oh, dude, I was in New Mexico, the Wild Wild West.
Oh, gotcha. So the coyotes and the rattlesnakes and all that stuff, so you survived.
I encountered a few, and I survived, yeah.
So where in New Mexico were you? Were in Santa Fe?
I was in Santa Fe.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there's some nice trails around there. But so anyway, but if you think about it, if you had to cook your own meal, I mean, you wouldn't be doing meals every 2 hours, right? You'd have to you have to scrape up all the cooking supplies, get your little flint rack, and do that stuff. And so again, we probably weren't eating 12 times a day like we do now. It wasn't convenient. And so, if you eat, so I like something called intermittent feasting. So I just friggin' just load up. I mean, I eat like I was at In-N-Out. We talked about that, and I had 10 of those Flying Dutchmans.
Yeah.
That's like a little over 2 pounds of meat. Just crushed it in one sitting.
Yeah.
And then I'm good for like, well, I had 2 ribeyes for dinner after that. But I mean, but then I'm good. I mean, I'm not hungry right now, and I haven't eaten in 16 hours.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine.
That's awesome.
So, does your whole family do the carnivore diet?
So my little boy sort of does. He always rebels because he likes to eat some junk food sometimes. He wants to eat that stuff. And Daddy, I want to eat some sugar. I'm like, no, you don't need to eat that stuff. But my girlfriend, who was a vegetarian when I met her, it's kind of funny. I remember when I was dating her, she's from France, told me she's a vegetarian. I'm like, how in the hell can you be from France and be a vegetarian? I mean, I got so much good non-vegetarian food, all the cream and the butter and all the sauces they cook with. But, and, and she was, but she was like, her guts were all jacked up and she wasn't feeling good. And then slowly over the years, she's probably about 90% carnivore. Like, she eats red meat every single meal. She may throw in, like some avocado or a few things like that. But I mean, she's pretty much 90% and feels the best she's ever felt in her life. My kids, because I got 4 of them, probably another one coming on down the road. But I've got, and they eat a bunch of meat. I mean, and they steal it from me, which I'm kind of regretting, kind of introducing them to this now, because when I cook a nice steak, they start swirling around like little sharks, and they're like, Daddy, I want this one. I want this bite here. Yeah. And they always take the best stuff, because they know, like on the ribeye, if you have a ribeye, there's something with a rib cap, which is, if you look at it, there's like a little cap of rib, and it's just extra goodness. Costco sells like rib cap steaks that they take the rib caps and they put a couple of them together, and that's like one of the best experiences in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. But so the kids do that, but then they eat some fruit and they eat a few, like a little dairy and a few other snacks here and there. But the nice thing, if you guys ever figure out how to create kids, when you guys learn how to do that stuff, you guys will find it. If you feed those kids a lot of fat and protein and meat, they don't pester you all the time for snacks, because kids are like, I want to eat constantly. So you just like, here you go, eat like 6 of these In-N-Out patties, and you're good. You ain't got to hear from them for the rest of the day.
Yeah,
it's nice.
That's awesome. I've been trying to go like keto, basically pretty much since like June, which I'm sort of my brother's on a carnivore diet and he loves it, so I'm sort of.
So you got the genetics for it, right?
Yeah. He's thriving. He looks good.
Do you know there's you ever guys heard of that blood type diet, where they talk about eat for your blood type, if you're an A type? So for the carnivore diet, there's a blood type diet. And if you got red blood, it works really well. Red blood works well for the carnivore diet. So if you got green or yellow or blue, you might want to be on like green. You might be on a vegan diet. If you got green blood, probably vegan diet.
Just spinach.
Yeah, I think so.
Spinach, kale. But I know digestion was a huge thing. When I started cutting carbs, I basically went to like 0 digestion issues. Yeah,
that's a real common thing we find where there's a lot of people have irritable bowel syndrome. About 15-20% of the U.S. population. It is growing. It continues to grow, and I think there's a lot of things that we ingest that we're not well designed to. We're not supposed to be walking around farting and bloated. That's not normal. But people think, some of these vegan advocates will tell you, well, that's normal because humans used to be outside, so they farted all the time. No, it's not really. You don't. When you breathe, you don't talk about wheezing and gasping, and coughing is not a normal part of breathing. There's something going on there. Same thing with, you're not supposed to have joint pain when you move. You're not supposed to have chest pain when you're exercising. Those aren't normal things. So painful digestion is not a normal thing, and that's one of the most dramatic things about a carnivore diet is most people, they know all bloating goes away, all digestive discomfort goes away, certainly after a transition period, and so that's really neat.
Yeah, it's cool that the kind of, my brother always talks about the idea of like, ever since he's been on this diet, the idea of just like feeling good and then you die. You don't have to deal with any of like.
Well, I mean, you're going to die at some point. You're going to die at some point, and it's like, what are we going to die of? I don't know. I mean, whatever I die of, but the vegans are going to blame it's on the meat. If I get hit by a bus, the meat caused it or something like that. But I mean, there's no reason to spend your life in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s in pain, disabled, which we see so many people, and that we see that commonly, and that's not normal. That's common, but it's not normal. And you have to figure out how to not have that happen to you. Diet helps.
What do you think about So I think one of the main questions with the diet is the idea of I wrote down. Like nutrient deficiencies.
So it's interesting. So most people will say things like scurvy, vitamin C, right? We know that meat doesn't meet the RDA for vitamin C, and so. But interestingly, we've known for about 120 years since these polar expeditions that fresh meat would cure scurvy and would prevent scurvy. And so we do know that the USDA never really tested meat to check to see if there was any. They said presumed zero. There's other independent testing that have been done that have shown that there is actually some vitamin C in meat. But more importantly, and this goes in general, the RDAs were developed based on a grain-eating, carb-based population. And so we know that those vitamins and minerals and cofactor requirements are changed, and they're upregulated when you have a high carbohydrate diet, like magnesium, for instance. You need much more magnesium as a cofactor for a carbohydrate diet than you do for a non-carbohydrate diet. Vitamin C, the same thing sort of appears to happen. If we have higher glucose around, vitamin C absorption is decreased in the gut. And same thing across the mitochondria. So there's transporters that vitamin C shares with glucose. And when vitamin C is in higher concentrations, that competitively inhibits vitamin C from crossing over, so you need less. The same thing with vitamin C is a factor used in making collagen, and they do this through a couple substances called hydroxylysine and hydroxyproline. We have transporters for those in our gut, and if you're eating it like through meat, you don't need as much, so you don't need to make as much. And additionally, vitamin C is an antioxidant. When you go on a low carbohydrate diet, your natural endogenous antioxidants that your body makes itself, like glutathione and some of these others, automatically upregulate. So the requirements go down. So there's a change. So to say that me on a carnivore diet requires the same amount of vitamins and nutrients as somebody else on a high carbohydrate diet is not accurate. And so we have to put it in perspective. That's a one-size-fits-all RDA, which doesn't fit everybody. So no one on this diet, and I've seen thousands upon thousands of people do it, has gotten scurvy. None. Zero. And they're not eating, they're not taking vitamin C supplements. They're not eating a bunch of liver or muktuk or the things that they say the Inuit did. It's just not happening. And so the most logical answer to that is the requirements based on the RDA, which, interestingly, even the people that produce the RDA say it's based on very weak levels of evidence. The Institute of Medicine criticized it, saying it's based just on expert opinion. So basically some guy just kind of pulled it out of his rear end and said, this is what the RDA for this particular... I'm being a little facetious on that, but basically it's not been rigorously tested, and so it's kind of more of a guess. When they first came out with the calcium requirements back in the 1940s, the RDAs were developed to deal with soldiers overseas, figuring out what we need to feed these guys. So when they're doing the calcium requirements, one of the original person that was doing this, they looked at guys eating white bread and chicken and some milk and said, this is what the diet is for calcium, and just based on two guys. So that was our data. So it's kind of like we don't really know for sure, quite honestly. But the answer is no one is getting any symptoms of vitamin deficiencies. And again, we can look at these populations like the Inuit, Inuit or the Maasai or the Sami or all these different populations, or the Gauchos in South America. None of them had scurvy. Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. Got a new way to look at things. We have a lot of assumptions around nutrition they're just assumptions. We never tested them.
I love the idea of just the simplicity of it. It's just...
It is simple. It's like you go, well, what am I supposed to eat? Because people... some guy asked me the other day, he sent me a little thing on Instagram, I think, and he goes, hey, can you explain to me in detail what the carnivore diet is and how to implement it? And I sent him a steak emoji, and that was my answer. That's it, man. It's just like, it's all you got to do. It's just eat a bunch of friggin' steak, and the rest will take care of it. And it's hard because we're so used to complicated. My dog, I don't got to explain the diet to him. I throw him some food, and he's good, and he's fine. And wild animals are the same way. So it's just like, it really is that simple.
Just got to eat the meat.
When you're eating a species-appropriate diet, good things happen. And I think all the rest of that stuff is just, it's flavor. Flavor enhancement is decoration. You don't really need that stuff, but you can if you want, if you like it.
What's your take on dairy?
So dairy is kind of interesting. So obviously dairy is an animal product, but I think there are some problems with dairy for a lot of people. So a lot of people will find dairy can be a little bit inflammatory. I know there's some people that get concerned about different types of dairy, raw dairy versus pasteurized dairy versus A1 versus A2 versus cow's milk versus goats versus sheep's milk. They all seem to react a little bit differently to different people. But I think in general, I think most people would do, okay to sort of do that in moderation or even minimize it. And some people need to eliminate it. My personal experience is when I do a lot of dairy, I don't feel quite as good. So I keep it kind of to a minimum generally. Yeah.
One slice of cheese on the.
One slice on the Flying Dutchman instead of two, which is tough. That's a tough order for those guys at the counter. I feel sorry for them. They got to bring out I think they got to get like an abacus out there to start calculating and taking their shoes off to count on their toes, and it really just throws a monkey wrench in their whole system.
Yeah, the Flying Dutchman stokers. For those of you who don't know, it's the 2 patties with cheese at In-N-Out. So if you order the Flying Dutchman, you just get patties and cheese.
But it's like 2 pieces of cheese and 2 patties.
That's
but
right.
I think that the formula's off because I think it's too much cheese. And so I want Flying. Maybe you guys can do like a city council thing on In-N-Out.
Yeah.
And maybe you could petition those guys to rename that thing or have like a diet Flying Dutchman where they have 1 cheese or something like that.
Yeah.
They could make a new name on that.
The
Flying Dutchman Light or something like that.
The Flying One cheese.
The Flying One cheese. I don't. Where do you think Flying Dutchman comes from? I don't even know.
It took me forever I kept forgetting the name. I don't know. Have you heard of that?
No.
That's a weird name. Why would they come up with that?
Is that from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Could be. Could be like a ship. I mean, it sounds like a ship.
Sounds
name.
like a ship.
Name. Maybe one of you guys will know the answer to that.
Maybe they have Flying Dutchmans on.
Maybe someone who works at In-N-Out knows the answer to this.
We have to reach to the higher ups. Figure out what's going on.
They should I want them to rename the Flying Dutchman with 1 cheese something else. Yeah. Carnivore Special or something. I don't know. Maybe we could come up with a name for that. Because aren't you into patenting new words? What was the word you put up the other day?
Jabwow.
I saw that. I did see that.
Oh, dude, hell
Let's see how I can incorporate that into my lingo a little more.
If you could install that in the carnivore lingo, that'd be sweet.
The feeling you get after eating a ribeye, jabwow.
Jabwow.
Isn't that? That seems like pretty good. Yeah.
Dude, I have an urge to say it whenever I eat a ribeye. So
that's pretty cool.
Jabwow.
Have you incorporated that into your
vocabulary?
Vocabulary.
Yeah, I use it occasionally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
He's boom clap is sort of his phrase that he's
boom clap.
He's putting on to the. It comes from a song, right?
Yeah, I have a phrase now. Boom clap.
Boom clap. That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I've always liked it. Like when I heard the song, I was like, oh, that phrase works for me. So I'm happy that now I get to connect with other people saying it.
That's
do you have any
words?
Go-to phrases that you use?
I like just eat a damn steak is a pretty good, that's a pretty good simple word there. But I think jabwow might intersect pretty nicely with a carnivore diet.
Yeah, eating a steak, jabwow.
Jabwow, that was a good steak. That's perfect, doesn't it?
I love it.
It's like 2 syllables.
Yeah.
Jabwow.
So do you do like a New York strip one night and then like a ribeye the next and then a filet, or is it?
No, I don't do any. Usually it's like 3. So whatever it is, it's going to be like 3 of those at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Like 1 is not like enough. But I mostly, if I can, I'll mostly eat ribeyes. But I mean, sometimes it's New York strips. Sometimes it's not often fillets. But sometimes. I was in Austin. I went and did the On It podcast, like Joe Rogan's company thing. I know he's like
Aubrey Marcus.
Yeah, those guys. It was with Cal Kingsbury, and so he's like the MMA
the fighter. Yeah.
And we had some good, in Austin, Texas. We had some. Went to this place called the Roaring Fork, and they had these. I mean, these were really good steaks. I mean, we just crushed them. We were just like all you can eat. We were just crushing. We were all eating like 6 steaks. It was like,
right.
It was good.
Sounds
good bonding.
It's good time. I didn't have to eat for like 2 days when I got back from there, though. I was totally stuffed, which is great.
Yeah, I heard from one of our heroes is Jocko Willink.
Oh, yeah, he's down in San Diego, right?
Yeah. And
he eats steak, I understand.
Yeah, I heard on your appearance from Joe Rogan that Joe said that when Jocko's feeling low energy, he just eats a steak.
Yeah.
And he just
makes you happy.
Gets right back up.
Yeah, it's got carnitine. It's kind of interesting. There's a study out there on depression, and people that have depression have low levels of carnitine. Mm-hmm. We see that people that don't eat meat have lower levels of carnitine. There's a relationship between depression and not eating meat. But we know that steak has lots of carnitine in it, and so that's maybe one of the reasons people feel so damn happy. You eat a nice steak, and you almost get a little bit, it's like an intoxication. A little bit like that. So.
Yeah, it's making me hungry.
It is talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not hungry yet, but I'm gonna eat I'm gonna have to get something. I might not even be able to make it back home before I have to stop somewhere and find something.
Maybe some flying one cheese Dutchman.
Flying one cheese Dutchman. I don't know. There's got to be a better name for that.
So where'd you grow up?
So I grew up kind of in early years in the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, and then down to Texas for much of my sort of late teenage to adult years. I was kind of bummed because I lived in Chicago. Do you guys like watch football or pay attention to that at all?
I'm a big fan.
Do you remember the Super Bowl shuffle with the Chicago Bears, right? 85 Bears. So I was a Chicago Bears fan as a kid.
You moved
Walter
right
Payton,
before the
Walter
title.
Payton. Yeah, I moved right before they won, and then I moved to Texas, and they win, and they're doing the Super Bowl shuffle. But that was right when I moved. It was like 80. I think we moved in 84, 83.
Where'd you move to in Texas?
I moved to a place called Lake Jackson, Texas, which was down by south of Houston, kind of on the coast, right there, right on the coast there. So that's where I went to high school.
Cool.
Then went out to Austin, Texas, University of Texas for some college.
Oh, you went to UT? Nice.
Went to UT.
I think that seems like the best place to go to school in the whole country.
It's a good place, man. That's a good city.
Because it's like an artistic hub, but they've got
they
like
got
great
music,
sports.
music. And when I was there, it was even better because it was all like there was like 350,000 people, and it was like 50,000 students, and it was like all around that. And you had 6th Street, which is a big music place. Now it's like 1 million people. And they just kind of all the Silicon Valley West. Or East came out there, I guess you call it.
Oh, yeah, the median income in Austin's like through the roof now. I don't know how any artist could survive.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I haven't been there to see it. But like I said, I was there a couple weeks ago. It was fun. First time I've been in years. Got to cruise down there. But yeah.
I've yet to check it out. My brother and I drove through last week, Texas. First time being in Texas.
Really? Were you nervous?
I was excited. My girlfriend and I have been watching Westworld, so I was like,
I haven't seen that. Is that pretty good? I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I like the first season. Second season, I'm not so sure on, but I was anticipating sort of that Wild Wild West scenario, but we just drove through, so I didn't really get to stop and enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember when I moved from the Midwest to Texas, the kids in the class thought I'd be riding horses and it'd be tumbleweeds and it's not necessarily the case, but they live in New Mexico, right? You go to New Mexico.
Yeah, I went to New Mexico, and we were in Santa Fe, and that had that vibe.
That's a little kind of like a artsy community. You got Canyon Road up there and all that stuff where all the artist communities are. Yeah.
My mom's an artist, so
cool.
Yeah, she loves it there.
Nice.
Where'd you go after Texas?
Where'd I go after Texas? I'm trying to think. So I was in Texas until then I went to New Zealand for a while. I went down there and played rugby. I was playing semi-pro rugby in New Zealand.
Was it rugby union or rugby league?
It was rugby union. Yeah. So union is kind of the more traditional. League's kind of the newer one. But I played union. Did that for a while, and then I came back, and then I came out here I went into the military, and then I came out here to California. I was up north of here, up near Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is up near Lompoc, kind of north of Santa Barbara, and then I moved to Wyoming. I lived out there Wyoming is a tough place in the winter, man. I got to tell you, Cheyenne, Wyoming.
I drove through there as well. I have these road trips.
Yeah, cool.
We drove from Sun Valley, Idaho to New York.
Oh, nice.
And
so you're on I-80, right?
Yeah, and we were going through Wyoming, and it wasn't snowing, but there's so much wind that it was like blowing up. This was in January, so it was like below 30, and there were no gas stations around or anything. And that's probably the scariest drive I've had.
Yeah, banking through the mountains.
Yeah, we're like, this is like the ton. It felt like that level that in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back.
Or whatever. No, what is it? What is?
Do you know what I'm talking about? The first scene.
The first scene.
I think it's with an H. I'll look it up.
Oh, the planet they're on?
Yeah, like that's all snow.
God, man, I don't remember that one. I know, but that's where he had to crawl in that animal,
Hoth.
right?
Yeah.
Hoth. Was it Hoth?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, but Wyoming, because it's cold. I mean, it gets cold. It gets like 20 below, but then the wind blows like 60 miles an hour, so the wind chill's like 70 below. I mean, it's really cold there. And I remember I was driving. We were going to go down to Fort Collins, and we were driving on I-25, the interstate, and it was so you couldn't even see. So we were like watching the reflectors on the side of the road to figure out if you're staying on the road. Yeah. It was so whited out. And we were on the I-25, the interstate, and we ran into a stop sign. And we're like, wait a minute. We didn't even know we exited. We just got like stop sign. Wow, this is pretty crazy.
Just got off the highway without knowing.
Didn't even know we got off the highway. So that's how bad it can be. But it's cold there.
You were in the
Yeah.
military at that time?
Yeah, I was in the military. Yeah, I was there. Initially, I was in for about 5 years. I was a nuclear weapons. I used to launch nuclear bombs, like the ICBMs.
Oh my gosh.
So you remember there was old movie called War Games. You remember that movie?
With Matthew Broderick, of course.
Was Broderick in that one?
He's the main character, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Where the kid accidentally hacks into like the.
It might have been, yeah.
yeah.
So War Games. So I was one of the guys that would be in the launch control center down
Oh,
there.
really?
So I did that job for about 5 years. So
That's
that was
awesome.
kind
Kind of like what it looks like in like astronaut movies too. Like you were.
Yeah, you're like
Houston
in,
the
yeah, you're
base.
kind of like
Yeah.
in a capsule. They call it. It's underground and it's protected by a bunch of guys with machine guns up top, so nobody can get down there and get to launch control centers.
Were you already a doctor at that time?
No, I didn't. So it was kind of funny. So I went. This is kind of funny. So I went to college. Then like I'm going to go to medical school, and then I started playing rugby. And I'm like, screw it. I want to go play rugby instead. So I dropped out of medical school.
Yeah.
Then I came back, and I was like, well, I still want to play rugby. And the military was a good place to do it in the U.S. at that time. So I went into the military and was a nuclear weapons guy. And then when I was about 30, I was like, I remember I was laying on this pile. I was playing this team from Russia, playing a rugby match against, and these guys were just kicking me in the head, and I had blood coming out of my ears. I'm like, I'm 30 years old. I was like, F it, I'm going to go back to medical school. So the military then paid for that. I went through, and then I came back, did my training as a civilian, and then I went, into the military. And then we got to go to Afghanistan and
Yeah.
do some crazy war trauma stuff, which was, just bizarre stuff.
Yeah. How long were you doing that?
So about 5 years. 5 years as a military surgeon. Yeah.
Wow.
And so you were stationed in Afghanistan?
So one of my deployments was there. Yes,
Right.
I was in New Mexico. That's how I got to New Mexico. I was
Oh,
at Kirtland
cool.
Air Force Base, and then I went out to Luke in Phoenix for a while, and then I was in Afghanistan for part of that time.
Cool. I have to ask, were you in like a deep underground military base when you were working with?
In Afghanistan? Or
No, when you're in Wyoming.
Oh, in Wyoming. No. So there's NORAD, which is in Colorado, which is
Yeah.
like that deep underground thing in the mountain. But what you do in the nuclear weapons is you drive out in the middle of nowhere, and then you go and you take an elevator like 100 feet underground,
That's crazy.
and you go into there, and it's got like this 16-ton blast door, supposed to be designed to withstand whatever, all
Yeah.
this trauma. In realistic scenario, I think they would blow them all up just because that's what they would target. The Russians would target that, but
Interesting.
we had all these top secret clearances, and we had all this crazy
That's awesome.
crazy stuff that only you can know. And I was supposed to be banned from going to China or Russia for like 10 years after I left because I had
Really?
secret codes.
Because
which
the
I don't
information
remember.
you had was
I-
too valuable.
Yeah, exactly. But I just like boring stuff that I don't even remember anymore.
Dude,
Yeah.
how do you test nukes?
How do you test them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what the military does is, well, I don't know how much they do it currently, but they end up shooting a rocket at a place called the Kwajalein Atoll, out in the middle of the Pacific, and they test it for targeting, so they know they can hit within a certain number of feet
Right.
very accurately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they run, this synthetic tests. They'll do simulations all the time when they run the equipment, make sure it all works like it's supposed to. And I mean, it was so I guess it's the GPS on there. I don't remember the exact technology on this, but if there was an earthquake anywhere like within thousands and thousands of miles away, the missiles could sense that. So we
Yeah.
could tell, like, if there was an earthquake in South America, the missiles would recognize that. You'd
Wow.
see all these little things. So it's very well,
But how do they test like the blast magnitude of the actual like?
Oh yeah,
missiles?
I don't. I mean, they've done that since the 50s, right? They used to do that in Alamogordo in New Mexico, and that's where
Yeah.
they used to do that stuff. They've tested all those things, and I mean, I don't know that they still do that. I mean, there's some treaties on how often they can do that, and I don't know what the U.S. has done recently on that. But,
Right.
but as far as the accuracy, the targeting, and all that stuff, they're pretty dialed in on that stuff.
That's crazy.
One of the it was kind of funny. One of the slogans on one of the squadrons was like something like it was a parody on like the pizza thing. It says your first nuclear weapon within 30 minutes, and the next one's free. they guarantee they get you there in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you still tight with any of the guys you worked with in the military?
No, not well. One guy a little bit, but not really. It's kind of interesting when I started this crazy carnivore diet. Right, a guy that I used to work with, just on social media, got on it and contacted me. Some guy I hadn't worked with in 20 years, and he was just like, he got a really good result. He got super lean and strong,
Cool.
and all the typical stuff that happens. But I haven't talked to those guys in ages, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Are you still a practicing doctor?
So I'm doing mostly consultations right now. I'm probably going to go. I took a couple of years off because I got in a big fight with the hospital but over lifestyle versus surgical stuff. And so I probably will go back to part-time practice next year.
What kind of what's your
orthopedics?
Oh,
so I was doing
nice.
orthopedic surgery. So I was doing hip and knee and shoulder replacements, trauma, sports medicine type stuff.
Yeah.
Look at that popping in.
Hear all that crepitus in those shoulders.
I can hear that. Great.
I had
Nice.
this left one operated on.
What'd they do?
They just described it to me as like tightening up a shirt that had gone loose
Oh, okay.
to keep like
So
the
you did bank
ball
type
and
thing.
socket like more
Did you
secure in
did you
there.
dislocate it anteriorly before?
I never dislocated, but they say I have like hyperelasticity, so
Okay.
basically I
Okay.
just suffer from like too much movement in there,
Gotcha.
and so they just wanted to like tighten up the
Okay.
the girdle.
Did they do it through a
around
scope? They scope
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
at Curlin Joby.
Okay. Yeah,
But in the long run, I don't think it helped. It's like where it would have been maybe
right, yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that's a difficult problem when you have hyperlaxity. But interestingly, we talk about this diet. I've got a physician in, I think she's a physician. She's an ER physician in either the Netherlands or I think it's the Netherlands. And she has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a similar situation where you have joint laxity, where everything's loose and she keeps dislocating her shoulders. And so she's been on the carnivore diet, and she said it stopped.
Really?
All of my dislocations went away. I stopped dislocating. My joints are no longer loose. I'm able to start training again. So it's very interesting.
What do they? So what? How do you think the meat is doing that?
Well, I think it's probably not the meat itself. It's probably something else in the diet that's probably contributing to poor tissue integrity. So I think if you eat, and we can debate about what in the diet, current modern diet, is causing a lot of these issues, and things in general, but probably things like vegetable oils, which vegetable oils we didn't eat before 1880, 1890, when cottonseed oil, Crisco, the original Crisco came out. One of the things was, you remember Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. Remember the thing you learned in grade school about Eli Whitney and the cotton gin? So he figured out how to maybe you didn't hear that, but anyway, if you don't know, Eli Whitney was the guy that invented the cotton gin, so they were able to process a lot more cotton. So they got all this cotton seed, which they couldn't use, and then they found out that if they pressed it, they could get some oil out of that, and they could use that to lubricate machines and stuff like that. And so, but then there was a German scientist who figured out how to hydrogenate. You've heard this hydrogenated oil. He figured out that process back in the late 1800s, maybe early late 1800s. And so that oil that was all slimy, real greasy and loose, they figured out how to make it solid. And so then they could use that as a substitute for lard or other cooking oil with tallow. And so then they pumped that into our human diet. And the American Heart Association, Crisco, and those guys paid Procter & Gamble paid the American Heart Association $1 million to start promoting their oil, and they put free recipes to everybody, so everybody started adopting this synthetic oil. And I think that's really been one of the things that's detrimental to our overall health and probably some of our tissue integrity. And then same things like high fructose corn syrup. And there's a whole bunch of other things out there potentially. Those are probably some of the more problematic things. So if you look at any food you pick off on the shelf, it's going to have canola oil, sunflower oil, soybean oil, safflower, some of that stuff's in there. It's almost always in there. And that's literally poison for the human body, mind you.
Yeah, I think going off that, my brother wanted me to ask about, can you the correlation between omega-6 consumption and skin cancer? Isn't there?
Well, there is some interesting data coming out about sun tolerance and omega-6. And so if you have an excess of omega-6 oils in your diet, remember, omega-6 oils are actually essential. You have to have some. You can get that from fish. You can get it from beef. You can get it from, some animal sources, But when you start getting lots of it in the form of these hydrogenated vegetable oils and things like that, you get an overabundance, and that's been shown to promote damage in the skin. Now, there's a reaction that occurs in in skin and other tissues, which makes you more susceptible to sun damage. So a lot of people that go on these diets, like the carnivore diet, they'll say now they can bronze, right?
Oh, hell
they can bronze more easily without getting a burn, or they have a much improved sun tolerance. And so interesting, like things like melanoma. Melanoma is the most deadly form of skin cancer. There's things like basal cell and squamous cell cancers, which don't kill you, but they, you gotta chop it off. You gotta have surgery for it generally. But the melanoma is not even related to sun exposure whatsoever. So
Oh, really?
a lot of people get on the bottom of their foot, on the inside of their lip, on their genitals and stuff like that, stuff that the sun doesn't typically see.
Interesting.
And so that's, and in fact, people that live in the colder environments even have a higher rate of that. And so it's not related to sun. So I think a lot of the things in general we've told people about, don't eat meat, stay out of the sun, are probably wrong.
Oh.
So you
That's
can go
interesting.
get jacked and tanned or get your bronze. man.
Guilt-free bronze with some.
Get bronze. Just don't eat as
some
many
bacon.
vegetable oils.
Yeah,
cut those vegetable oils
I
out of
love
there.
it.
If you're connecting it to like the way our predecessors lived too,
Yeah.
it's like they were probably out in the sun. with
I bet they
limited
went
protection.
outside. I bet they went out. So they probably weren't sitting under fluorescent lights in cubicles. They probably had to go outside.
So
Guessing.
you mentioned that you had a conflict with the hospital you were working at over
Sure.
like lifestyle versus
Sure,
surgery.
sure, yeah.
What was like the kind of I don't know story there? I guess.
Yeah. So basically, as I, like I said, I went through my own personal health transformation. I figured it out, and then I started applying it to patients, and then I started seeing some results, and then I said, well, this is really powerful stuff. And interestingly, hospitals depend upon, most of them don't, they have a pretty tight margin. Their margin is about 3% in a lot of them. It may differ from hospital to hospital, but that's
Margin in terms of
how much gross they make versus how much, how much revenue they generate versus how much they need. So they're only making a very small amount of money. So they've got to maintain a high volume, high production procedure to make it work. So things like orthopedic surgery, things like interventional cardiology, things like chemotherapy, they make a lot of money for these hospitals. And so I was a very productive, very income generating person for the hospital, made them tens of millions of dollars, right? So when I started saying, I want to back away from that and do lifestyle medicine, I want to take a day a week. And they're like, no, we really don't want you to do that. There's not an appetite. They said there wasn't an appetite for that at the hospital. So I kind of continued to push back against that and try to get on the wellness committee, and basically kept getting shut down because they didn't believe in a low carb approach anyway. But more importantly, when you compromise the financial well-being of a place, they don't like that very much.
Yeah.
And so I went through like about a 2-year legal battle over this stuff. Ended up resigning my state medical license because I didn't want to fight anymore because I'd already fought for 2 years. And so I had to go get independently evaluated to say I was competent. I did that, and they said, you're totally fine. Go back to work. And so that's kind of where I was at now. But, it was a long, drawn-out battle.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have like a big dramatic like a moment about it where like you were like, look, this is what I believe in, and like threw some papers in the air?
No, I didn't. That didn't. No, it wasn't like what was that movie? What was that good movie? A Few Good Men. Where
One of the
yeah,
best.
yeah.
remember that where you say
Kathy.
you can't handle the truth.
Yeah,
remember that
yeah,
thing?
yeah.
I didn't do
want
that.
the truth.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never did that. I should have
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
was
it's
not
not-
Spartacus.
Well, I was
Yeah.
too naive to understand what was going on, and only in retrospect did I realize how much it's about the money. And it always
Yeah.
is. You should know that anyway. But
Yeah.
I was naive enough that I thought if you do the right thing and you're a good guy, the right things will happen. So now I've kind of learned about that a little bit. But that was a good movie, wasn't it?
It's a
great
great
one.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom did a great job.
But I thought Jack Nicholson was pretty good too, man. I
Oh,
thought,
yeah.
of course. Oh, yeah,
I kind
yeah.
of almost sided with him a little bit, didn't you?
Colonel Jessup.
I heard
Colonel
what he's
Jessup,
saying.
yeah.
Well, he
Yeah.
seems like he knows more than the people who are trying to take him out of his position.
Right, he did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously everybody wants to side with Tom Cruise because the guy got killed. With the Marine guy got, what do they call it?
Santiago Code Red.
Santiago
Yeah.
Code Red.
Code Red.
Code
Oh,
Red,
yeah.
the guy, right? Yeah, but but at the same time, you've got the bigger picture there. Who's up there keeping you alive at night?
You want him on that wall. You need
do.
him on
You
that
need him
wall.
on the wall.
Yeah.
We do need that.
Yeah, it's
Some
a
degree.
it's a really
Makes
good
you think.
movie.
Very good.
So, do you think hospitals then are treating people in bad faith almost? Or are they cognizant of the fact that
they're conflicted. I mean, I think most doctors want to do the right thing for their patients, and I think most hospitals generally do. But I do think the model that we are, subject to is a procedure and a pharmaceutical-based model, and that is the tools that we have in the toolbox. I don't think they are as effective in a lot of cases as something as simple as a dietary change. I can tell you as a surgeon who operates on thousands and thousands of people, I would see improvements in that particular body part. People would be thankful. Oh, good, my knee feels great. I can finally go back and spend time with my grandkids, and they're happy. But when I compare that now to what I see from people with the dietary changes, I mean, it's night and day. It's not even in the same league. I mean, because I get people that are like, literally my entire life has changed. I'm no longer suicidal. I no longer have this horrible, debilitating disease that has dominated my life for the last 2 decades. That goes away. I've got a guy that was, I mean, I did a consult with this guy. He said, I've been impotent for 25 years.
Yeah.
And within 2 weeks of going on the diet, he starts getting spontaneous erections. I mean, this is powerful, amazing stuff that's outside of what we normally see in modern medicine, and it's a shame, and it's so simple.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible, but a lot of it sounds like just at this point at least, like anecdotal. Is there like a large data set that anyone's collecting or pulling from?
Yeah, so we're attempting to do that. I mean, there is a group in Hungary called the Paleomedicina Group who has been doing this for about, I want to say 3 or 4 years, because we interviewed them on my podcast, and so they've been doing it for about 3 or 4 years, and they've got, I think, something like 4 or 5, maybe even 10,000 patients they've run through, and so they're publishing case studies. They're collecting data on this stuff, and so they've got a decent data set on that. The diet was tested 100 years ago in Bellevue. I mean, they did that for a year with guys that have done that, and so hopefully, yeah, you're right. There is a lot of anecdotal stuff. Most of our nutritional knowledge comes from what's called epidemiology, where they take these large population studies, and they say, well, these people tend to eat more of whatever, and they have this higher or lower rate of disease. That, unfortunately, is a very poor way to determine how to eat. It really is. It's too confounded. You know, when you take 1 million people and you try to put them all on the same page, you can't. I mean, there's too many different things going on. But
in terms of like environment or like the genetic differences with the people?
Well, it's probably more environment than anything. I think, as human beings, we share an incredibly the same number of genes. I mean, you and I are 99.9% alike. And so, but our environments can be wildly different. I mean, some of us can live in a polluted area, some of us can live in a warm area, some of us can live in a cold area, some of us exercise, some of us don't, some of us eat a different diet, some of us, have more stress. All those things, the environmental difference between people is much greater than the genetic difference. And so I think that's probably why most people can eat relatively the same diet and do pretty well. I think when it comes to a species appropriate diet, we all probably share a different capacity to eat Twinkies and Doritos and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there's differences that genetics may play a role in that more so than the environment. But I do think it's more environment than genetics when it comes to human diet. Here's the problem with nutrition studies. They're not hard science. You can't do a study on people and then at the end of the study you kill them all and cut them open and see.
Yeah.
You can't do that, or you can't do a long enough study. And so we don't have really good nutritional data that we can hang our hat on. There is no study out there. People criticize the carnivore diet. Well, there's no long-term data. There's no long-term data on any study ever that has really been done, because you can't do what's called a randomized control trial on a population. Like, you would have to take a bunch of twins that share the same genetics, right? And have them locked in a metabolic ward where you can control everything about their life. They get the same amount of exercise, the same amount of exposure to everything else, and then the only thing you vary is your diet. That's the only way you're going to know this answer. And so until we can do that, which probably will never will, the best thing is to kind of do your own study, in my view. I mean, just figure out what works for you. These are the possible options. And if you go on a diet, like if you go on a vegan diet and you feel great and you get leaner and you get healthier and all your metrics of health get better, that's fine for you for a while. If it keeps working, that's fine. Like I said, I don't care what people eat. If you go on a carnivorous diet and you get leaner and your joints stop hurting, your digestion gets better and your mood gets better and your body count gets better and you get stronger, your libido gets better, that's probably a good diet for you. I think it's as simple as that, and we don't have to make it overly complicated about worrying about some pretend risk 50 years down the road. You're going to die of heart disease. Well, guess what? The number one killer of heart disease and the number one killer of vegans is heart disease. Yeah. And they're talking about we're not going to get heart disease. No, yes, you are.
Is that the number one killer for all people, though?
All people. Right. For all people. It doesn't matter. So if you eat a vegan diet and think I'm not going to have heart disease, guess what? It's the number one killer of vegans. I got in an argument with this vegan doctor. And because he was saying, well, heart disease is the number one killer. And I said, what do vegans die of? And he goes, well, I don't know. I think it's skiing accidents. I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. So I went and looked it up and started reading the literature. And I found it, the Epic Oxford data, which is a big epidemiologic study. You look at it, number one killer for vegans, heart disease. Number two killer, cancer.
Is it? But is it for carnivores? Is it heart disease as well?
Probably. We don't know. I mean, like I said, you're going to die of something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless, maybe we're all going to die of skiing accidents. We're going to hit trees when we're 100 years of age.
I'm really afraid of dying. So I'm hoping for some kind of
some kind of live forever
singularity. I don't know what the phrase is, but
singularity.
Yeah, some kind of forever.
Upload.
Yeah, I want to get uploaded and then downloaded into another body.
You could do like you freeze your head, right? You chop your head off and freeze it, and there's weight.
That's my plan.
That's your plan?
Yeah, I got people in my family like I want to get.
Do you have an extra freezer at your house, Chad? You can stick JT's head in there when he's dead.
I always go to him for wisdom.
Yeah,
just open it up.
Open it up
in a vat.
Wasn't there like there's a
Steve
Steve Martin movie about that. You remember that?
Yeah, with Lily Tomlin.
With a brain?
The Man with Two Brains?
Yeah.
No, that's not the Lily Tomlin one. But the Man with Two Brains. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Same kind of thing. Your brain can live forever, right?
I was wondering, so what is like when you meet someone and you tell them about your diet, like what's the main hiccup or hang up that people have about it?
Well, I mean, they'll wonder about fruits and vegetables. Where do you get your nutrition? Where do you get your fruits? Where do you get your phytonutrients? None of which are required. There's no RDA for phytonutrients, right? We've never had that. They'll ask about constipation, right? Because that's a common topic. Then they'll worry about heart disease because cholesterol, and they'll worry about colon cancer. I mean, those are the major sort of concerns around the diet. And so, first of all, as far as vitamin deficiencies, I walk in there, I'm like, look, I'm not dying of any vitamin deficiency. I haven't had fruits or vegetables in 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm still, arguably, maybe my brain is not working anymore. We could argue that.
You look great.
I was going to say, it must help that you're jacked.
Well, yeah, sure, it helps. Yeah. I've been training my whole life, but it helps to say, look, I'm not dying of vitamin deficiency. And in fact, I continue to get better and stronger and faster in my 50s since I've been doing the diet, which I really goes against thinking you're developing some nutrient deficiency. I think that's very important concept to understand. I think when you look at we're complicated systems. We're not just one input, one output. It's lots of variables that go in there. So, red meat. The guy that was, there's a guy named David Clearfield. I think David's his first name. He was on the World Health Organization study panel, the IRC, and he basically said it was the most frustrating experience he's ever been in life. He voted against that thing. He said approximately 1/3 of the people on that committee were vegetarians and vegans, and they had spent their whole life demonizing meat. He said that they should reveal their conflict of interest, and they laughed at him. They said, no, we're not going to do that because, and it was just, they had 800 epidemiology studies, and they threw out like 780 of them and only used like 20 that supported their cause. There were, there were like 25 rat studies that they wanted to use, and they found like 3 or 4 rat studies that supported what they want, and they threw out all the other ones. There was a study out there, you can look it up, there's a study out there, a rat study on eating bacon. Rats fed bacon are protected from colon cancer.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's a neat study on that. So they feed the rats a high bacon diet, and they're less likely to get cancer.
It's hilarious that they even did that test.
Well, it's kind of some funny things. There's all kinds of studies out there that are funny. I mean, it's like, you see all the crazy stuff that's been studied.
Yeah. What common denominators do you see in like the personalities of people who are on the carnivore diet?
I think there are people that are just, some of them are just frustrated with the status quo, and I think there are people that are willing to take things into their own hands. It's kind of funny. Some people try to politicize it and say it's like a far right political thing. It's food. Everybody's got to eat, and so I've got these people that are, from the LGBTQ. I can't remember the letters now, but there's so many letters that keep adding to that. Yeah. Community that do that don't care. There are people that are liberals that eat steak. I get people all the time. Now, certainly there's some that are like neo-Nazis that do it. And I get these messages from everybody. Some of these people are kind of like, I'm like, I don't care all that other shit. Just eat your steak, and that's all I'm worried about. I'm like, whatever, let people do what they want to do and just enjoy their steak.
I like that politics, just eat your steak.
Yeah, eat your steak.
Live life, eat your steak.
Yeah.
I like that how there's, with the carnivore diet, there's really no push to like, with other diets or something, I'll be like, buy these supplements, buy whatever and stuff. With the carnivore diet, it's just simple. So, there's doesn't seem like there's a lot of big money behind pushing
Well,
the
you
agenda.
know, I mean, obviously, there are people that make their careers on supplements and that sort of stuff. And you know, when you tell somebody there's a diet, you probably don't need any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Probably you can get all you need from food. That's probably, I mean, supplements didn't exist before maybe 100 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, people somehow manage to survive without that stuff. And, you know, I think it's like, so it upsets a lot of people, and they'll say, well, the modern environment is different, and, you know, whatever they're going to say to promote their supplements. But so it kind of irritates a lot of people like that want to make the diet, want to make nutrition complicated, because if nutrition is really complicated, then you need to come to me and pay me money so I can explain it to you.
Yeah.
When I'm just saying, here, eat a damn. So I could, you know, when I was writing a book on this, you know, and
I was going to say that. So you are somewhat incentivized for the diet.
Well, I mean,
sure.
sure. But I mean, at the same time, I could write a book and do a steak emoji. Here you go. One page. I mean, honestly.
Right.
But there's people that have questions about transition stuff, and there's a little bit of silliness that goes into that. But I mean, but honestly, it's so damn simple, and it's not like you got to buy the wonder like when the Plant Paradox Stephen Gundy came out.
Yeah.
All its lectins are all bad, but now buy my lectin shield for $199 or whatever crap he's selling it for, you know. Or all these guys sell their magic supplements, you know, and it's just like, you know, eat a damn steak, you know, and you know, somebody wants to sponsor me for steaks, I'm happy to do that, you know. But it's not that complicated. And that's what's so frustrating for people that have spent their whole lives studying the minutia of macronutrients and micronutrients and all these studies, and somebody's coming along and saying, look, I got to eat as a damn steak, and we're good.
Right.
You don't have to try so hard.
This
Yeah,
diet's
exactly.
like a existential threat to
Well, it kind of is to a lot of things.
overthinking
It
nutrition
is a
and
lot
stuff.
of things. And there's people that, you know, a lot of people that are like, you know, they spend their whole lives planning their meals, and they're like, I don't know, one steak or two, dude. What do you want? And that's it. And that's all I got. And they love it. A lot of these women in particular. There's women that they spend their whole lives just obsessing over all these details and counting all this stuff. And they're like, man, I'm happy now.
Yeah.
What is there any big athletes, like professional athletes, who are doing the carnivore diet?
Yeah, so there's a few now. I mean, there's a guy named Owen Franks, who's a New Zealand All Black. He's one of the best rugby players. And there's a guy named Paul Jordan, who's another professional rugby player in France, who just messaged me. He's doing it now. He says best he's ever felt or performed in his life.
Cool.
I'm trying to think, you know, I mean, I know there's a few MMA and jiu-jitsu guys who have started doing this. There are, I'm trying to think what else. There's a few professional baseball players, guys that are doing it now. I can't remember the names.
So you were a professional athlete?
I played semi-professional rugby, you know, in New Zealand, yeah.
What was that like?
It was awesome, man. New Zealand was a great place. It was, you know, I was 25, 26, something like 25. Good time, just running around playing sports, you know, getting my head kicked in on a regular basis. But I mean, that was a fun time, you know.
And now you're breaking world records with rowing.
With the rower, yeah. So I mean, I was, you know, I've always done sports, and I kind of shift every about 5 or 6 years. I go to do a new sport, so just because it keeps it fresh, you know. But I had so I played professional rugby in New Zealand. I had an American record deadlifting. I was a power lifter. I was a strongman competitor. I placed, I think it was 5th in the nation, the first strongman contest for the U.S. I won the Highland Games, Masters World Championships, set a world record in that sport. Through All-American as a Masters track and field athlete, discus and some of the weight throws. And now the rower. And I got on the rower, started doing that, and broke. I've got like 3 American records right now on that, and I'm hopefully getting another.
And you've avoided injury?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have like the ears from
from
doing
rugby.
rugby.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a position where it kind of
scrum?
I was in a scrum. Yeah, I did that. But I mean, we taped our ears up, so you'd wear like electrical tape around your head, and look like a crazy Frankenstein.
But you never like knees are good.
Knees are good. Shoulders are good. I broke a finger, broke my nose. But other than that,
those are more like impact injuries, though, right?
I mean, it's kind of funny. I got a scar under my chin. It was kind of funny. I was playing this rugby match in Dallas, and I ran into this big Samoan dude, and he just freaking got me. I think he either elbowed me in the chin or hit me in the chin with something. He split my chin, and I had to go to the ER after the match and get stitched up. And so then I was playing another game the next day, and the same thing happened, and it split right next to it. So I had two scars right next, and then I went to the same ER the next day, like getting sewed up again, and they're like, "What in the hell?"
So do you have any picadillos, like any like weird, like do you do drugs or anything?
drugs? You mean like, what do you mean?
Like, do you smoke weed? Do you go crazy on the weekend and do blow?
No, never did any of that stuff. I mean, when alcohol was probably when I was younger mostly, and sometimes I was wine, but I don't do any of that crazy stuff. I'm still excited about performance right now, and so none of those things really particularly help that stuff, and so I'm not really interested in that stuff. But I never got into that stuff.
What about it? Were you a big lover?
A big lover. I don't know who's listening to this, but yeah, I had my share of experience. So I definitely had some fun with that stuff. I like women. I mean, just you can do whatever you want, but I mean, I generally preferred women. I mean, I would say I exclusively preferred women, but yeah, I mean, I had my share. Although I've been very happy and monogamously in a relationship now, and I'm very happy with what's going on now.
Nice.
Awesome.
How long have you guys been together?
Going on 6 years.
Oh,
so
cool.
She's from France, and she's a good French girl. So yeah.
And you said you have 4 kids?
So I got 4. So 3 from a previous married, 1 new one, and then we're actually looking to adopt another one.
Oh,
so
cool.
we're gonna
Beautiful.
probably adopt another little girl. Hopefully by next year we'll get that.
Awesome.
What did your current girlfriend's parents say, or what was her reaction when they found out you only pound steak?
Well, so her mom was totally fine with it. In fact, I've got her mom on a low carb diet, and it has helped her tremendously, and her whole family. Because I go to France and visit her family, because they're still in France for the most part, and they love it, man. They cook a ton. And I go there and just eat everything. I mean, I clean them out, and they have a great celebration. They don't care.
Right.
They're very happy with it, because they totally get it. They're like, yeah, it's good food. They're meat eaters. But it's funny. Her sister. It's kind of funny. She's got one sister that lives in California that's in up in San Francisco area, and she's a vegetarian, and her husband's a vegetarian, and we go out to eat, and we just have a good time. We both eat the meat, and here you guys can have our rabbit food.
What do you season the meat or marinate it with?
So typically it depends on the steaks. Like ribeyes themselves just taste so damn good. I just throw a little salt on there, and I'm good to go. But I mean, sometimes some of the other cuts I'll put just various seasonings on there. I get some people that send me some seasoning that's like low sugar, no MSG, just kind of halfway decent stuff.
Do you use A1? Or is A1 no-go?
I don't, but I mean, I'd have to look what's in A1. I think there's a fair bit of sugar in A1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so I mean, I try to tend to minimize that. But I mean, again, it depends. It really depends on the person. I mean, there's people like Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson that, I mean, if they have a little bit of something that's wrong, it really jacks them up. I'm not that way. I can eat, I can go out and eat barbecue at a restaurant, and I know there's some crap in the marinade that's on the rub that might cause other people a problem. It doesn't bother me that much. It might make me feel like my stomach a little bit upset, but generally it doesn't bother me at all. So I can get away with that stuff, which is, I'm not sick, which is nice. And I think one of the things we see is this gut disruption, and I think with time you can kind of fix that. So you can kind of get back to where you were. It's almost like winding the clock back on damage, and so you can tolerate a little bit more stuff. A lot of people find that out.
Should we? Let's.
Yeah, how are you doing on time? It's about 12, 15.
Is it? Okay.
We got some other folks here, so maybe we'll push into the next.
Okay.
Phase. So.
Okay.
You'll get to see us do it, and then I think you'll get the hang of it.
All right.
It's Chad. Who is your legend of the week?
My legend of the week is just dogs in general. I love dogs. I love doggies. Over the Thanksgiving break, I was saying my brother has a Rhodesian Ridgeback and my mom has a Golden Retriever, so I was kicking it with the dogs mostly. Dogs are just the best, man. They it's just an automatic mood boost every time you go home. It's something you can always count on. You'd be like, I'm going back home and there's gonna be a dog there and it's gonna be awesome. I need a dog in my life. My lady friend, she has a Rosie, is a great dog as well. And I just want to give a shout out to dogs. Thank you. I also watched the movie Alpha that showed how humans partnered up with canines, which was epic. And I'm just, I love dogs, man. And I just want to give a shout out to dogs and just, I don't really have much to say more than that, but just get a dog, guys, and feel good. Maybe eat a steak, get a dog, and you'll feel good.
Get some more dog in your life.
Get some more dog.
Dogs are good, and it's interesting. This interesting fact that humans, probably of all the animals out there, our digestive tract and a dog is the most similar. Avoiding them, aside from the teeth, because we develop tools, so we don't have to chew stuff up like that. But Dogs are good, and that movie Alpha was awesome, and
It's
I think
awesome.
JT should watch that movie. That should be the next movie you watch.
Nice.
So dogs are. I agree with dogs on Legends. Yeah.
Yeah, I had I had a black lab growing up, Barry. He was the best, and he would sit and cross his legs. He was very sophisticated.
It's funny.
That was
Do you
fun.
know who your legend of the week is, Dr. Baker?
My legend. I don't know. I don't think I'm sorry, you guys got me behind on this one. Maybe Zelda. Wasn't there a Legend of Zelda?
Yeah,
Zelda,
that's a
yeah.
great
I'm gonna
legend.
go
Yeah.
Zelda.
Really?
It's crazy.
Do you know much about like CRISPR and like gene editing and stuff like that?
A little bit about that. Yeah.
I mean, that's so like
Yeah, I mean, there's
the potential there is almost, it's scary.
It
Like you
is.
don't want us to evolve into that, but at the same time, it's like it does seem like the next evolution of
Well,
where
that's a thing.
where we should be going.
Are we going to make genetically modified humans as athletes and super smart people and design your own baby and
in China, scientists just came out and said he successfully did gene editing on two newborns, like on twins, to give them a built-in immunity to like HIV and AIDS and stuff like that.
Interesting. Yeah, but again, we don't know what the
cost of that could be,
or what other genetic changes that's caused.
Right, because
they
domino effect, and then
who knows? So that's the thing. You don't know what you make one change and it's not independent. So it's kind of scary. I mean, it's we'll see.
My legend of the week is the dudes I hung out with in Miami this past week. I went out to Miami to visit my dad and have Thanksgiving with him, and it was lovely. It was great spending time with my dad. He's super proud of the work we're doing here
Cool.
on Going Deep and on Chad Goes Deep. When I get recognized in public, he does get threatened, and he makes fun of me afterwards and asks me how I'll ever monetize it.
Yeah.
But underneath that, I can feel his pride. It just takes a while. And he's really stoked on what we're doing, and he's doing well. He's sick right now, but he's recovering well, and it's really inspiring to see him. But I also brought my buddy Reggie, who has been a legend of the week on this program before, and he deserves it again. The guy's just the fucking man. I smoked some pot. I was having a panic attack. I was like, Reggie, I'm afraid I'm gonna die, and he just said, not now. And I was like, you're the man. And then he's so funny. Like, he's low key, down to do anything. He can party all night, or he can sit back and just kick it with you and talk. But he's always funny in any setting. We were, you guys will like this. We were at a restaurant, and they brought us a bread dish that was just like a shell of bread. It was like hollow in the inside. And Reggie stuck his fingers and he goes, talk about empty carbs. Blew my mind. And then the other Miami guys, Andrew, a good friend of ours, who's our agent. Maybe I'll cut that out, but he's our agent. And this was the most time I had spent with them, like just going out. And the guy is the mayor of Miami. The way his friends talk about him, it just makes you love the guy even more. They're all like, oh, we always knew Andrew was going to be the man. He's got a nuclear reactor inside of him. He just keeps going, and he's the best guy. And like, I just love him. And it was all his friends from when he was kids. And if someone has friends from when they're kids to this point, they're trustworthy. And he was just fun, dude. I could not keep up with the guy. He partied so hard. He was so charismatic. He was so charming. He was so effusive. I was in awe of him. I was like, literally, dude, watching you party is like really awe-inspiring. And then his buddies were the best too. Frenchie, super funny guy, awesome to hang out with, was so nice. Like, they were leaving. Guy barely knows me. And I'm like, hey, I'm paying the bill. I'll meet you outside. He goes, I'll wait. I was like, well, come on. This camaraderie, this is fantastic. And then their other buddy, Alex, great guy, super cool, knew a lot about comedy, and was just really fun to hang out with and talk to. And yeah, they're just great guys, and I had so much fun with them. And thank you for showing me around Miami. It was really an honor and a pleasure to party with you guys. And they're also friends with just like the hottest chicks in the world, and they're all super nice. It was really daunting, but it was a lot of fun. And I had a good time with them. So thank you to the Miami guys for being so cool. You guys are the absolute definition of legends. And one thing that Frenchie said that's a little bit off color, but was one of the funniest things I ever heard. We were at the bar one night. It was like 4 a.m. People in Miami partied till like 8 a.m. And Frenchie just walked up to Reggie and he goes, at this point, it's just laps and scraps. All right.
Good
Chad,
stuff.
who is your babe of the week?
My babe of the week is Stifler's mom.
Nice.
Stifler's mom from American Pie. Because, up until that moment, I don't know, around the time when American Pie came out, I was just learning about like boning and stuff. and like learning about how what high school was going to be like, and sort of you always sort of think like, hey, I'm going to have to go for like the girls in high school my age or whatever and stuff. And then Stifler's mom kind of showed me that you can kind of reach above, and so that sort of said like, hey, there's more of a options in terms of you don't have to just like limit yourself. And also I like the idea of like Finch. Finch is the one who ends up with Stifler's mom, and Finch was always kind of like true to himself. He's like, look, I'm into philosophy, I like Voltaire, I don't like to deuce at school, I like to deuce at home. And she loved that about him. So I think that kind of shows that if you just stay true to yourself, you can probably hook up with the most sophisticated woman at prom.
Yeah, he was a cultivated man.
Yeah. So, and then, in high school and stuff, they'd be like, Chad, who are you going to take to prom? And they'd be like, are you going to take like Ashley? And I'd be like, I was thinking your mom.
Right. It expanded the paradigm.
Expanded, yeah. So shout out to Stifler's mom. Thank you for being a beacon of sophistication.
To quote Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Do you have a...
yeah, sure, I'll put one in. So this is back from a while, I guess. When I was a kid, I ran away from home when I was about 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And I took the necessary supplies that would allow me to survive in the wilderness. And so I took a pack of matches and a can of Campbell's soup, which I didn't have a can opener, so I didn't figure that out. I took my sister's, and I apologize to my sister's, Cocoa Puffs, and I took my Charlie's Angels poster. Those are the things, and a blanket. And those are the things that would allow me to survive in the wild. And my favorite Charlie's Angel at that time, the original Charlie's Angels, wasn't Farrah Fawcett.
Whoa.
No, it was Jacqueline Smith.
Nice.
I thought Jacqueline Smith was the nicest, the finest of the Charlie's Angels. Her character was Kelly Garrett, as I recall.
Love it.
Great stuff. What about you, JT?
My baby of the week is the actress Catherine Keener.
Nice.
I think she's most well known as the love interest in 40-Year-Old Virgin. What I like, What I like about Catherine Keener is that she just she has such an interesting energy. Like she can be really cutting and like really like kind of like acerbic to people, but she's still likable. And I think it's because she's really into her relationships. Like even when she's like picking on people or being like a little bit cold, you can always feel that it's coming from a place of like not disliking people, but feeling too connected to them. And that's what makes her upset. And I just think that's really relatable. And she's one of the only actors I know who kind of executes that tone. So Catherine Keener, you're a great actress. You're doing so much work. You're prolific. And you were really good in being John Malkovich because you were like really icy, but I still wanted to be close to you. And she's just fantastic in every movie, especially like Walking and Talking and Nicole Holofcener. Those are my favorite movies that she's in. All right.
Hell yeah.
Chad, who is your beef of the week?
My beef of the week is with pecan pie. I was hanging out with my brother who's on the carnivore diet, and I was trying to follow suit, And it was Thanksgiving. We had lamb, and I had salad too. Stayed away from the scallops, and I was proud of that. I had some green beans. And then my mom breaks out the pecan pie, and I'm like, pecan pie, you motherfucker. How can you taste so delicious? And when I dive in, like when I go to New Orleans to visit my brother, he's like, they'll have king cake. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to eat all of that, because once I just start with that sugar stuff, I just can't stop. So pecan pie, you son of a bitch, you got me. And I ate like that whole pie and didn't feel great the next day. But you know what? You live and you learn. So I think that just shows you got to keep the temptation out of your vicinity. That's what, yeah.
Let's see, beef of the week.
Yeah, who you beefing with, Dr. Baker?
I'm gonna go with. How am I gonna go? How about turtles? Because I'm a little upset with. This is not turtles. PetSmart.
Turtle vendors.
I bought a turtle for turtle vendors. Yeah, I bought a turtle for my little boy for his birthday. He wanted a pet, and they told me the turtle would do fine in the koi pond. And we put him in there, and the turtle didn't do fine. He ended up, he didn't move very much. I thought he was like a slow-moving turtle, but he didn't move at all. And then, so 2 days of him not moving, I discovered that he was just not alive anymore. Man. So the nice thing is they have a refund policy that they said if you're unsatisfied with your pet for any reason, you can bring him back for a refund. So I'm going to package him up and bring him back and say, I don't like the fact that he doesn't move very much.
Did you try to resuscitate him by putting like a cube of ribeye in his mouth?
I could have tried. If I'd had you there, I would have done that. As a physician, I do better with humans, but I wasn't thinking about turtle physiology. But that poor little Charlie. He even got named.
Oh man,
Rest in peace, Charlie. This is probably, and this is something that the Inuit do that most people don't know about this. They do not name their children for often up to a year because they want to make sure they survive. They don't give them a name. They're not even considered humans.
Yeah.
So if these little babies that don't make it, they just do that.
Right.
So Charlie, maybe we shouldn't even give them a name.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Anyway,
How did your son handle the loss?
He asked for his iPad. So I don't know that he was all that concerned. He didn't grow. I don't think 24 hours is enough to get really attached to a turtle that you can never touch or see, or it's 4 feet on the bottom of a koi pond. So I think he's going to be okay.
My beef of the week is with people who don't like the band Sublime.
good call.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
That, the lead singer of that died of a heroin overdose.
He did.
Yeah, before he even got popular.
Bradley
Before he got famous,
Noel.
which sucks. Yeah.
I think he's one of the greatest lyricists of all time. I mean, I think he can paint a picture of a moment in time, of a place, of a type of person with like the kind of exacting feeling and precision that's like it's worthy of like the greatest literary figures. I mean, I heard like I'm thinking like David Simon from The Wire. I'm thinking about that French dude Balzac that they do these panoramic, very detailed looks at stuff. And I mean, to me, that is sublime. Like, if you want to understand Long Beach and Southern California and that era, you need Sublime. They'll give you the best picture of what was happening at that place. And they just got so many hits that are so fun. And what I like about it is like it's a little bit dark,
Yeah, I like that.
But it's fun and dark.
What is it? What I Got is a good one, and then Bad Fish.
Santeria.
Yeah, Santeria.
Yeah, Summertime.
Yeah.
There's one I always forget that has a good guitar riff that I love.
Garden Grove one. I can't remember all the songs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think you listen to those songs, it's hard not to feel good and want to pop a brew with some of your buddies. So
who doesn't like them though?
There's just some people who think they're like cheesy, like bro.
Like hipsters.
Like they don't think. Here's what I don't like. They don't think the lead singer of Sublime's smart. You know what I mean? They think he's like he's the leader of a dumb band, and it's like you could not be farther from the truth. Because if you were from that place, you would understand that he is nailing it. Come to California, put it on, you'll understand.
Cool, man.
All right, do a quote of the week.
Oh yeah, I don't even know what mine.
Quote of the week. Oh man,
I can do mine real fast. Mine is from the terrible Matthew McConaughey movie Surfer Dude.
You watched that?
Yeah, it came right before the McConaissance when he started doing more serious films, and this was really his nadir. I mean, there's not a worse movie. There's so much you can smell the pot through the screen.
That's a big word. Nadir.
But there is one quote that I loved, and it's this kind of withholding journalist is getting to know him, and she's starting to like him, and she says, "What's so special about surfing?" And he goes, "What's so special about the wind? Surfing is to be with that mystery, to ride that mystery for as long as you can, and then when it's over, that's cool because you know what? You were there, in line and on time."
Beautiful.
The whole movie's worth it just for that quote. And then a song by Mishka, who is from the same label as like Slightly Stupid and Sublime, comes over, called Coastline Journey, comes over the scene, and it's great.
The McConaissance. Dude, I remember that when he was bronzing and stuff, people were hating on him. I'm like, he's bronzing.
In line and on time. That's how I want to live my life.
Mm-hmm. All right, my quote is from the movie The Breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston. Quote, when Vince Vaughn gets his ass kicked by her brother, and he's like, oh, what's his name? Do you know what the character's name, Vince Vaughn's character's name? Gary. He's like, Gary, you don't knock a guy's pitch pipe out of his hand when he's in the middle of a very funky groove. And I think it's a great rule to know. You should know that. Yeah, I think, guys, if you ever see pitch pipes out in the ether, don't knock them out of a dude's hand.
Other good quote from that movie is when Gary gets kicked off the bowling team because they side with Jennifer Aniston. He just turns to the guys and goes, "Band of brothers, you should watch it."
Yeah, dude.
Goodness. Quote. I'm just going to go with, there's a friend of mine, Mark Bell. I'm going to be on his podcast in December. He likes to use the word strength is never a weakness. And I think that's a very appropriate and a nice quote. So
Love
that one. So.
How would we know Mark Bell? I feel like I've heard that name before.
He's big into the fitness and stuff. His brother, Chris Bell, is
directed Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
Right.
Yeah.
So Chris is on the Carnivore Diet now, and me and him have been going back and forth quite a bit and doing some stuff together. But he hooked me up with Mark. Mark has become like the meathead millionaire. And
he's Smelly.
Smelly Bell, yeah. Mark Smelly Bell, yeah. So that
was an incredible documentary.
Yeah. So they're making another. Chris has made several more. They're making a new documentary on diet, which I think they'll feature the Carnivore Diet in fact. Cool. So Mark, but I'm going to go up there and have a little debate with a guy named Lane Norton, who's a PhD in nutrition.
I've heard him. Yeah, I've heard him on
So
Joe
we're going to have
Rogan.
a little thing on, he was on Rogan's show a while back ago. So we're going to have a little thing over at Mark's place up in Sacramento, or Davis, actually.
Sweet.
How do they think about that documentary with how personal it was, and then the tragedy that kind of like
with
followed?
her brother? Yeah. I mean, obviously it's deeply impacted their life. What I'm impressed with is how tight that family is. I mean, they're really, they care about each other.
They seem like really good people.
They really support each other. They support their parents. I mean, Mark bought a house for his parents next door to him. So when you go up there, their parents are right next door, and so they really, I can tell they rally around each other and kind of support themselves, or support each other. Yeah.
Is he still on the T?
Who, Mark?
Yeah.
I think so. I believe he's taking steroids still. I mean, he's open with that stuff, and I don't care. I don't do that stuff, but I don't care. And then I think Chris was on testosterone replacement, came off of it, got back on, and then went off of it again because he's feeling like he's doing better just with the diet, and so he's feeling better off the stuff, which I think is great. And I think a lot of guys that did that do end up beating themselves up pretty hard. And there's some people that are smart about it, there's some people that aren't. I mean, one of the reasons I'm in my 50s and can still dunk basketballs and run sprints and do backflips and all that stuff is because I possibly because I didn't do some of that stuff and do something silly, which could have beaten me up.
Right. Well, Dr. Baker, thank you so much for coming on.
Cool, guys. It was fun, man.
It was really nice talking to you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then he said January is sort of the month to like
World Carnivore Month, January 1.
Okay,
so
cool.
1 month of eating nothing but meat.
I think I'm going to try it.
Do it, man, and let's get the word out, and let's see what happens because it's a lot of fun. That's my advice for you guys to do it. Eat plenty. Eat your ass off.
Yeah.
Don't count meals. Don't count calories. Don't count macros. Count how many steaks you enjoyed.
Yeah.
And just eat them. And then when you're done, then you just say, okay, I made it. I made it the month, and you'll be stronger for it. You'll be wiser for it. You'll learn something about yourself.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I definitely want to learn.
Sure.
And then you have a podcast that's Human Performance Outliers?
Human Performance Outliers, me and Zach Bitter. Zach is the current world record holder for the 100-mile run. And he broke his world record recently. Said he's eating 2-3 pounds of steak a day. So
Sweet,
very good. So we have all kinds of fitness and health people on there. We chat about that stuff. Yeah, we don't have any guys like you guys though. You guys are a little bit different
I think
genre.
Chad's definitely an outlier.
Is he?
Yeah, for sure.
With his hair and stuff like that, or what is that?
His
What is
hair,
it?
his tan, and
tan,
even
yeah.
on his productivity just in general.
Productivity.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love sprints.
Cool. Get you on there. Well, I enjoy.
I'm a world record setter with how many times someone can masturbate in a day. So if
What's the record?
probably like 13 or something like that.
So that's about almost every 2 hours.
Yeah.
So what are you doing those like last 3? Are you starting getting?
Oh, it's like just like squeezing it out of like a beet noodle.
I was gonna say not much coming out at that point, is there? I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes I was surprised one time, not to toot my own horn.
Okay.
But I remember one time
Tooting something.
the
right,
13th load was just as heavy as the first.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's like the 13th Warrior. Remember that movie?
Yeah, with
right?
Antonio
The
Banderas.
13th load.
Yeah, Michael Crichton, the novelist, I think he directed that. It's an interesting movie. Because it's the Beowulf story, but from a different side. I think it took me a couple hours to watch it because I was taking breaks.
I was impressed how quick I was impressed how quickly Antonio Banderas adopted that new language. I mean, it was like 6 hours and he learned a new language.
This is my favorite part because I listen.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of doubt that was realistic, that part. But
No,
the
you got
rest
to
of it was
condense
awesome.
those training parts in movies.
Maybe,
yeah.
okay.
If it was the real like 10,000 hours, we'd all be like,
Cool.
This movie sucks.
All right, guys. Well, I got to get in some traffic.
Yeah,
man.
sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
And then you're on Instagram, Shawn Baker.
Shawn, SHAWN, Baker, BAKER, 1967, Twitter, SBakerMD. And that's most of the stuff.
Cool.
Check out meatheals.com. We got a bunch of crazy people that are saving their life and revolutionizing their health, just eating steak.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you
Great
so
guys.
much.
Thank you, Stokers, for listening. We'll see you guys next week. All right, later.
All right, guys. Well, thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
If you need advice,